Hi everyone, welcome to the class. It's the fifth class of the unit biomolecules. In the previous class, we have completed with the disaccharide information. Now, in the present class, so we'll start with the last concept of carbohydrates. So it is polysaccharides. In the classification, what we learned in the beginning, we mentioned what are polysaccharides. So with respect to the two classification, homopolysaccharide and heteropolysaccharide we mentioned. So polysaccharides consists of many monosaccharide units which are joined through the glycosidic linkages. So many such monosaccharide units which are joined by the glycosidic linkages will form the polysaccharides. So such polysaccharides are having a very vital role in the living system. So they play both the structural role as well as the storage role. So storage role for the polysaccharide, it is to give the energy. So energy yielding biomolecule, if we take, so polysaccharide stands first in our living system. So for example, if we take us, the human beings, our major source of energy for the activities is taken through the carbohydrate glucose through glycolytic pathway followed by the oxidative phosphorylation to produce ATP, which is the energy currency for the living system. So such ATPs is obtained majorly by using the carbohydrates which we are going to take in our regular diet. So in the scarcity of the polysaccharides or the carbohydrates as a source of energy, the next energy yielding biomolecule is going to be the proteins and lipids. But generally, polysaccharides or carbohydrates constitutes the major energy source for us. Along with the energy role, they also have the structural roles. All these we'll try to discuss in the importance of carbohydrates at the last of this particular concept. Now we'll try to learn three such polysaccharides. So two with storage role, that is energy role, and one with the structural role. So we learn with the simple polysaccharides now as homopolysaccharides. So you can recall homopolysaccharides are those which are having the same repeating monosaccharide. So such three important homopolysaccharides we'll try to discuss. So as mentioned earlier, so the major role for the polysaccharides, what we are concentrating is the storage role, so which serves for the energy, and the structural role, which helps in maintaining the rigidity. So we have two important polysaccharides to explain the storage role, energy yielding role. So it is starch and glycogen. Starch and glycogen. Structural role will take with the example of a very important homopolysaccharide. It is the cellulose, which is present in the plant cell wall. So with respect to these three polysaccharides as homopolysaccharides, we'll try to concentrate. So all are homopolysaccharides. So these are all homopolysaccharides. So just we'll see the three main points or the important points of differences between the three. Then we'll learn individually. So starch, glycogen, and cellulose. If we take starch and if we take glycogen, so maximum similarities we are going to observe in their structure. So then the third will take cellulose as a point of differences. So we'll try to just concentrate what are all these three polysaccharides. Then we'll go in detail to learn individually about all. Now if we take, so both in starch and glycogen, the repeating monomer is, it is alpha D plus glucose. So glucose is the repeating monomer in all the cases, but in starch and glycogen, it is with alpha configuration. Alpha D glucose is the repeating monomer, whereas in the cellulose, it is beta D glucose. So that is a major difference with respect to the structural part. So due to that configurational difference, so what are all the structural aspects we'll try to discuss individually. Then if we consider what is that polysaccharide exactly, so starch is the reserved homopolysaccharide present in plants. So reserved homopolysaccharide refers to whenever there is energy is required. So this polysaccharide is undergoing a pathway to yield a particular simpler unit. From that, the energy will be generated. So the reserved homopolysaccharide in plants is starch, and reserved homopolysaccharide in animals, the same reserved homopolysaccharide in animals is glycogen. Whereas cellulose is the structural component, so which is seen in the plant cell wall. So it is seen in plant cell wall, so as a structural component. Both starch and glycogen plays energetic role. They are responsible for the energy yielding role. Whereas cellulose, we are going to see, so it is going to play a structural role. So this is the main differences with respect to the key points. Now we'll concentrate individually one by one to understand. Now we'll take with the first important polysaccharide, starch, as it is said. So starch is the reserved homopolysaccharide present in plants. It is a reserved homopolysaccharide present in plants. And the repeating monomer of this polysaccharide is that the repeating monosaccharide, so which is building the polymer. So starch is a biopolymer, so which is made up of the repeating monomeric units from alpha D plus glucose units. So if you can recall the structure of glucose with alpha configuration. So the anomeric carbon atom, the first carbon atom, OH is below the plane. The remaining positions and the respective groups, if you concentrate, the sixth one, CH2OH, H, starting with H, HOH, starting from OH, OHH, and starting from H, HOH. So this is the structure of alpha D plus glucose unit, so which is the repeating monomer, so present in starch. Now, if you consider the components of the starch, so which gives the information about its structure. Structurally, the components present in the starch, so they are classified into two types. One is amylose portion, and another one is amylopectin. Amylose and amylopectin are the two components, so which are present in the starch. So one is amylose and another one is amylopectin. Now, what is this amylose portion? What is the amylopectin portion, and what are the differences in that? We'll try to observe. It is amylopectin. Now, so if you take the two components, so amylose portion of the starch is soluble in water. So all these will be very important 1 mark question. Try to observe clearly. Structurally, starch is made up of two components. It is amylose and amylopectin. pectin. Amylose portion is soluble in water, whereas amylopectin portion, so it is insoluble in water. It is insoluble in water. Just as points of differences we'll try to take, then we'll learn the structure of amylose and amylopectin portion clearly. Now, amylose is soluble in water, whereas amylopectin is insoluble in water. So, amylose portion of the starch is linear component that is present in a straight chain like. It is the linear form or linear portion of the starch. So, whereas amylopectin of the starch is a branched structure. Amylose portion is linear form present in the starch and is soluble in water, whereas amylopectin is a branched component of the starch. It is a branched component and it remains insoluble in water. Now, in the linear portion, how it is formed? It is through glycosidic linkages. Each monomer will join in a straight chain. So, you can imagine the structure of maltose. So, it is with alpha 1,4 glycosidic linkages, this linear chain is going to form. So, through alpha 1,4 glycosidic linkages, so we are going to observe the straight chain of amylose portion. Whereas, if we consider the amylopectin, so it is having a linear structure formed through the same linkages, alpha 1,4 glycosidic linkages, and along with the linear portion, you are going to see the branch points. Now, what are branch points? So there is a cross-linking like which is going to happen between the two running linear chains. That we'll see with the structure. You will be more comfortable when you learn with the structure to remember. So these branch points are going to see between the anomeric carbon of one chain and the sixth carbon hydroxyl group, that is this CH2OH. So in the normal linear chain, so this one is going to interact like a U-shaped linkage in maltose you are going to observe. Whereas between the running chain, the branching occurs. So at this sixth carbon hydroxyl group interacts with first prime hydroxyl group of another chain. So thereby the two chains are going to form. Try to concentrate clearly. All these are 1 mark important questions. So branching occurs at first and sixth carbons hydroxyl group. So in the portion of linear running chains. Now, so if you take few more points about the amylose portion and amylopectin. If you consider and if you analyze 100% of the starch portion, the complete 100% starch, if you analyze, in that 15 to 20% is only the amylose portion. So remaining nearly 80 to 85% is a branched portion, that is amylopectin. So amylose portion of the starch is 15 to 20%. Amylopectin is 80 to 85%. So all these points are helpful for 1 mark question and to answer what is the respective component is. So amylose, which constitutes nearly 15 to 20% of the starch, which is water soluble component, and it is a linear form, and the linear chain is formed through alpha 1,4 glycosidic linkage. Whereas amylopectin, it constitutes 80 to 85% of the starch. It is insoluble in water, and so we are going to see this as a branched structure. Along with the branching, so the branching points, if you notice, alpha 1,4 will be the glycosidic linkage linking the chain, and the branching occurs at alpha 1,6 position. So generally, the amylose chain will have nearly 200 to 1000 alpha D glucose units, so held by alpha 1,4 linkages. We can imagine 200 to 1000 monosaccharides, that is alpha D glucose, will form this amylose portion. So how this amylose portion and amylopectin portion sees, we'll try to observe with a simple structure now. So structure of amylose and amylopectin may not be asked to represent. So you can remember the structure for competitive point of view, but the point of differences are about the structural component. It is very important. Learn what is amylose and what is amylopectin clearly, and remember the linkages and this solubility portion with respect to water. So which is water soluble? It is amylose portion. And which is a water insoluble component of starch? It is amylopectin. So they may ask individual monosaccharide structure of the polysaccharides. So the complete polysaccharide partial structure they will not ask, but it will be helpful for competitive exam. Now we'll try to learn that. Now first we'll try to observe with amylose portion. As it is set, so you can recall. So amylose is a linear portion of the carbohydrate starch. So in which the glucose molecules are linked by alpha 1,4 glycosidic linkages. So just to show the partial representation, I will write. So you can mention 3 to 4 the Haworth rings for glucose monomer to represent. So you can mention nearly 3 to 4 together, and you are practicing the partial structure. Then, so between the monosaccharides, you try to show the U-shaped linkages, how you are going to see in the maltose. On either side, you try to show that U-shaped linkage is extending. So the chain is extending like this. So nearly 1500 to 2000 monosaccharides will join. So you try to satisfy the tetravalency of carbon by mentioning the respective groups. So at this, the 5th carbon, so you will have above a 6th carbon CH2OH, below H. Through H it is started, H, OH involved in glycosidic linkage. Then it is OHH followed by H, OH, as all are alpha. On the anomeric carbon, you are going to see that the OH of this is involved in the linkage with the 4th carbon. So first carbon, 4th carbon hydroxyl group, so they are involved in glycosidic linkages. Hence the linkage formed here. So easily you can understand it is alpha 1,4 glycosidic linkage. First carbon hydroxyl group, 4th carbon hydroxyl group, so it is involved in glycosidic linkages. Similarly, you can represent the structure of the remaining monomers what you have written there. So 2 also you can write to represent the partial structure. 3 you can write, 4 you can write, it's up to you, but you try to show that the linkage is properly, and on either side the linkage is extending. This kind of partial structures will be given in the competitive exam, and they will ask you to identify what is the respective structure, what is the linkages involved. All these points will be generally asked. So hope this information is clear. This is how the alpha 1,4 glycosidic linkages is going to form. So again here, this is the 4th carbon hydroxyl group, and this is the first carbon hydroxyl group is involved. Again, this is going to be the first, and through the other monosaccharide, the 4th one is going to involve in the linkages. So like this, the first and 4th carbon atom hydroxyl group so will involve in the formation of alpha 1,4 glycosidic linkages. Hope you have understood the structure of amylose. Now, similarly, we'll try to learn how amylopectin structure, a partial amylopectin structure looks. We'll try to show one branching point. So for these running things, again to write this, what you can observe means, first you write a linear chain above with 2 or 3 monosaccharide units. So one of the monosaccharide, so don't show the linkage towards right hand side for alpha 1,4. So make that group as free to interact with the next chain's 6th hydroxyl group to show. So one more simple polysaccharide, linear chain you can write. One above, one below. On either sides, the alpha 1,4 linkage is extending. Here also you can show that the linkage is extending. So just to show the point of linkages, I am writing it is CH2OH, which is the 6th carbon. and this is the anomeric carbon. Now this is the first carbon hydroxyl group, anomeric carbon, and this is the sixth carbon hydroxyl group. So through the interaction of this OH and this OH, one of the water molecule gets eliminated, and the left out oxygen will link the two to form alpha 1,4 glycosidic linkages. Just to show that I'm making this, so you can easily imagine what happens now that OH and this OH is interacted in the linkage. Now the O is linking the two carbon atoms. As a result, so between the first carbon's hydroxyl group, sixth carbon's hydroxyl group, we have seen the branching occurs as alpha 1,2 glyco, that is 1,6 glycosidic linkage. It looks like what you have seen in sucrose, but in sucrose it is between glucose and fructose. Here it is between the running chain glucose molecules it is happening. This is how the branching occurs. So remaining portions you try to complete the structures. Again, this is optional. So if you want to remember exactly for competitive point of view, so you can learn these structures. So it is a glucose structure, CH2OH, H, OH will be involved in glycosidic linkage, OHH, here HOH. So the first carbon, anomeric carbon atom. So this is alpha 1,4 glycosidic linkages, CH2OH, H, HOH, OHH. Structural part information is important for board exam, but representation of structure, if you want to practice, it is for competitive exam. So just focus it clearly. At least information everyone has to practice. So if you are really interested to learn all the information, please practice the structure also, which is very, very simple and easy to practice for your competitive exam, so that you will not have any confusions. So those students who are feeling very difficult about these structures, so can skip practicing the structure, but structural information everyone has to practice. Hope the information is clear. Now this is how amylose portion is formed, which is a linear portion. So this is how the amylopectin structure is going to form. So now you can observe it is from the NCERT text how they have represented the amylose portion, a linear chain, how it is explained in the same way. So alpha 1,4 glycosidic linkages between the first carbon, fourth carbon of the neighboring interacting monosaccharides. Similarly, you can observe now the amylopectin structure, how between the two running chains, so the alpha 1,6 glycosidic linkage is formed. So between the first anomeric carbon atom's hydroxyl group and the sixth carbon's hydroxyl group, so the interaction taking place. So the oxygen of the two is linking, so with a branch at C6 as alpha 1,6 glycosidic linkage. Alpha 1,6 glycosidic linkage. Here the alpha 1,4 glycosidic linkage linking the linear chains. Alpha 1,4. So branching through alpha 1,6 glycosidic linkages. Now we'll move to the next energy yielding polysaccharide. It is glycogen. So glycogen is the reserved homopolysaccharide present in animals. So in us, whatever the energy source, it is the glycogen. So once energy is not supplied through food, the stored glycogen will undergo glycogenolysis. So through that pathway, glycogen undergoes enzymatic degradation, and through degradation, it will yield glucose. That glucose will enter into EMP pathway followed by Krebs cycle, oxidative phosphorylation. So to yield via ATC chain, electron transport chain, so the ATP molecules. Hence, the glycogen is the reserved homopolysaccharide. It is the reserved homopolysaccharide in animals. And there is a similarity of the glycogen structure to the amylose, that is amylopectin structure of starch. So glycogen is structurally similar. It is structurally similar to amylopectin portion. So as a result of this similarity of amylopectin of starch, as a result of its similar structure, that is branched structure of the starch, so it is, that is the glycogen is also named as animal starch. So you can think how we will have starch. So we will not have any starch. So in animals, glycogen will serve as the energy like starch, but as it is structurally similar to amylopectin, so glycogen is commonly known as animal starch. So the animal starch name is due to its structural similarity with the amylopectin portion of starch. Again, so the repeating monomer here already we discussed in the beginning. It is the alpha D plus glucose units. So or the repeating monosaccharides, so which are seen in glycogen. Again, you all know. So what will be the structure of the alpha D plus glucose? So just as we are mentioning the monosaccharide, so you practice the structure again there. Just recall the structure. So it is CH2OH, H, H, OH starting with OH, OH, H starting with H, H, OH. As it is alpha, on the anomeric carbon atom, the hydroxyl group is below the plane, so which will be alpha D plus glucose. Now, if we observe, so a few more points about this polysaccharide structure we'll try to observe. So you can practice the amylopectin portion the same. But here the difference between the amylopectin of starch and in the glycogen structure is that, so glycogen is extensively branched. So glycogen is extensively branched. That means the frequency of branching seen in the glycogen is more when compared to amylopectin of the starch. So this is the difference between the structural aspect of starch and glycogen. So as though the glycogen structure is similar to amylopectin of starch, so it is having more branched structures. Extensively branched, or you can remember easily as highly branched structure. Then, if we observe the storage sites for glycogen, where glycogen is stored in us. So glycogen is stored in liver, muscles, adipose tissue, and brain. Liver is a major source I can consider. So where the glycogen is stored, you can remember. So when the energy need arises, so the stored glycogen will undergo the enzymatic degradation pathway, that is the glycogenolysis, the process of degradation of glycogen, that is the catabolism of glycogen to give glucose as a homopolysaccharide finally, many glucose units, so which are going to enter into AMP pathway to yield finally energy currency of the cell, that is ATP. So this is how the information of glycogen is related. So easily you can concentrate. There is much similarity with starch. So what are all the differences you can observe? So similarities is that, so monomer is same in both the case. Structurally it is similar to amylopectin portion. It will perform the same energy role as starch performed in plants. In animals, it will perform the energetic role. The difference is that, so starch will have two components, whereas glycogen is having only branched components. So in amylopectin portion of starch, branching points is less, whereas in the glycogen, it is highly branched. So these are few points of differences you can remember along with the information of this. Now we'll try to observe how the structure of glycogen will be seen. So it is same like amylopectin. So you're going to see the structure as, so the simple linear portions. So with branching points at alpha 1,6 glycosidic linkages. So it is same like amylopectin, but you try to observe that the difference in this is that is instead of amylopectin, if you take the structural difference in glycogen, so this frequency of branching, what it is there, alpha 1,6 glycosidic linkages. So highly branched structure like amylopectin will be the structure of the partial structure of glycogen. Hope this is clear. Now we'll try to learn with the last polysaccharide. It is cellulose. Now, if we observe the cellulose, so the basic point is that, so cellulose is the structural component of plant cell wall. So it is the structural component, so which is seen in plant cell wall. And why the plant cell wall is so rigid? So it is due to this structural component cellulose. Cellulose is responsible for rigidness of plant cell wall. And how exactly it will give rigidness, we'll try to observe through its linkages. If we take the monosaccharide in cellulose, again it is glucose, but here the configuration of glucose is beta D glucose is the monomer, so which is seen in the cellulose. So it is beta D glucose. We can recall the structure of beta D glucose. The difference in the structure with respect to alpha and beta is that at the anomeric carbon atom, so your OH will be above the plane on the anomeric carbon atom. So remaining positions, hope by now all of you are very clear with how to write the structure of glucose, CH2OH followed by H, starting from H, HOH, starting from OH, OHH, starting from H, HOH. So easily you can write, don't do any mistakes, practice the structures very clearly. Beta D glucose. So as though the structure is not expected for representing the polysaccharide, its monomer structures will be definitely asked, and the related information if it is considered, and practice the monomers clearly and their corresponding structures. Now, so if we consider the linkages between these monosaccharides, so between first and the fourth carbon atom, so beta 1,4, there it is, that is in starch amylose portion, so or in the linear portion. So 1,4 linkage will be seen. Again here 1,4 linkage, there the configuration is alpha, here it is beta, that is the difference. Beta 1,4 glycosidic linkage. Now, so due to a cross-linking network which is seen in the cellulose, it is so rigid. Why cellulose is so rigid? Because so it is having cross-linkages through this beta 1,4 glycosidic linkage, which is responsible for its rigidness. Just to represent the structure, so I will write side by side. So you can also write one above the other, little slant way, so that also you can use, or you can represent in side by side also. Just you can write the glucose structures first. It is CH2OH, H, H, OH, then OH, H, starting from H, OH, as it is beta, OH above. So just to show the linkages, I am not writing that OH. Now this is the fourth carbon. OH will be there here. That OH and this OH will interact, and in the interaction the linkage formed is beta 1,4 glycosidic linkage. So through beta 1,4 glycosidic linkage, the two particular monosaccharides are going to combine. So similarly, you can expect, so this OH is going to extend the chain length, and this beta OH is going to extend the chain length. So thereby the structures you can easily relate. Just I am mentioning with the two structures. So you can write more number also. So 3 to 4 you can write if in the competitive exam to analyze. So these OH, just what I have rounded and show the arrow mark, so that will be extended above and below. So thereby the cross linking will help so to give the extra rigidity for the plant cell wall. Now you can observe how exactly the beta links can be shown. So here they have shown the 3 linkages. Other groups they have not mentioned. So you try to prefer to mention this kind of structures through all the groups what I have written and shown. So these are the important polysaccharides. With this, we'll move to the last information of carbohydrates. The importance of carbohydrates. As already we learned all the disaccharides and polysaccharides, many importance related to the carbohydrates are discussed there. So the same we'll try to brief here. The first role. So they are essential for the life in both plants and animals. So the life to occur in both plants and animals, the carbohydrates are crucial, so are very essential components. Next, they play an energetic role, so as in the form of starch or glycogen. So they act as energy yielding biomolecules. So they play structural role. It is the cellulose what you have learned. So through that or in association with proteins and lipids, they also present in the cell membrane. So that we'll discuss as one more importance. Then ribose sugar seen in RNA nucleotides. So ribose nucleic acid, a genetic material. Similarly, deoxyribose nucleic acid. So both acts as genetic material. So in the repeating monomers of these particular genetic material nucleic acids, the nucleotides are the repeating monomers. Their nucleotides are formed through 3 fundamental units. One is a pentose sugar, another one is, so you are going to see nitrogenous bases. Next, you are going to see phosphate. So these 3 together will form a nucleotide. So they are the main unit to join the respective nitrogenous base and phosphate is, it is a ribose sugar or deoxyribose sugar. Ribose sugar seen in RNA, deoxyribose sugar seen in DNA. So both are the carbohydrate moieties. Again, already it is mentioned in the biosystem, the carbohydrates are associated with lipids as well as in proteins. So especially in the cell membrane, you can think the respective lipids associated with polysaccharides are called as lipopolysaccharides, and the carbohydrate moiety associated with protein, they are called as glycoproteins. So which will act as cell receptors. So cell reception role is going to be played by in association with other macromolecules such as lipids and proteins. So these are few important roles about the carbohydrates. So with this, the carbohydrate concept is complete. Now we'll move to the next biomolecule. It is proteins. So we'll see the introduction for proteins in the present class. So in detail, the remaining concepts we'll try to learn in the next class. Now what are proteins? So proteins are the most abundant biomolecules what we are going to see in the living system. So the most abundant biomolecule in the living system will be the proteins. So you can recall one of the protein Rubisco, so which is involved in the photosynthesis. So that enzyme is the most abundant biomolecule in the living system. So like that, the major role is related to protein. Such a protein we'll try to discuss. So the term protein is derived from the word proteose, which means prime importance. That means having its priority in giving the energy and the growth of the cell as well as the regular maintenance. So protein is having a vital role in the living system. So it is the major biomolecule which is responsible for the normal growth and maintenance of the individual or the life. So such an important role is related to proteins. So such proteins are built up through a fundamental monomeric units called amino acids. Amino acids are the building blocks of proteins. So amino acids we need to learn first before going to the protein structure in detail to understand. So hence amino acids are the building blocks of protein, so which will build the proteins. So such amino acids, so we are having 20 different types which are building the proteins. There are many types of amino acids. So those amino acids which build the proteins will try to concentrate. So those are called as standard amino acids. The amino acids which build up the protein are called as standard amino acids. There are 20 such standard amino acids. There are certain other amino acids also which will never seen in proteins. Such amino acids are called as non-standard amino acids. Non-standard amino acids. So that and all we'll try to extend in our next class.